Join us, the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast, on a journey where we delve into the heart of the matters that truly make a difference. Our mission is to create a platform where we can openly discuss topics that often go unnoticed or unexplored. We aim to shed light on these crucial issues and have meaningful conversations. We invite you to tune into our podcast, where we will explore the depths of these subjects and let our hearts guide the conversation. Together, we can create a space where everyone's voice is heard and where we can collectively work towards a better future. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast. I am your host, Nia Imani, and I have the phenomenal pleasure of interviewing my friend, Danielle. Danielle, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be here. It's a true honor.
Thank you. You guys, she is a lifesaver. She has helped many of my friends and family and patients. And I'm just going to dive into her bio, and you're going to understand why she's so amazing and how she has helped the people that I love. So this pretty lady, Danielle, it all started one day in 2017 when Danielle, the CEO of Ancora.ai, was out hiking and she met a couple on a trail. She took a photo for them and they got to chatting. Danielle has spent her career working on tech problems in healthcare and mentioned offhand to the couple that she was currently working on PD-L1s, a novel type of cancer treatment. She was surprised when the man became excited and said he was very familiar with PD-L1s. He was not a physician, but actually a stage 4 lung cancer survivor who had benefited from one of the first CAR T trials after being told he had less than a year to live. This pretty lady, Danielle, was amazed to be speaking to someone who had obviously made a great recovery from a serious disease, and asked how he found his way to the trial. The man replied he managed to enroll because his wife's cousin's aunt's nephew's friend. I'm going to say that one more time. He managed to enroll because his wife's cousin's aunt's nephew's friend was working at a hospital involved in the clinical trial and managed to connect him to the right contacts. Having access to the novel treatment has saved his life. He was fit enough to enjoy hiking again, but making sure to stay informed about new treatments like the PD-L1s just in case. This particular story made a huge impression on Danielle, who believes that all patients should have access to innovative medicines regardless of luck, personal relationships, or their ability to navigate the healthcare system. Realizing that patients like the man she met hiking are interested in knowing all of their treatment options and are trying anything they can to increase their chance for recovery, she started designing Ancora. When you heard him say, "I managed to enroll because of my wife's cousin's aunt's nephew's friend," what ran through your mind?
I think oh crap, this is actually how healthcare works, which is to me so tragic. And it's one of those, I think, you kind of have that sneaky suspicion if you have the right contact, who happens to be a doctor at the right hospital or someone who can help you get the in to give you the treatment, then you're okay. But it really makes you wonder, like, what about the rest of us who don't have those ins? And hearing his story really kind of confirmed that it's such a game of access, of network, and that just really bothered me.
Yeah. Yeah. So after you spoke to him, was your baby, your business, your life-saving company, was it birthed right then and there? Did it take time? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I guess, to tell that story, I'll just rewind a bit where, I grew up in Boston. I was lucky enough to go to Boston College and have a professor who showed me this intersection of healthcare and tech, and I love healthcare. I think it's one of the most noble industries. I know we've talked about it a bit, but you're just so lucky to be in healthcare. You really help people live healthier, longer lives, and I think that's just such a beautiful thing. I just wasn't super good at healthcare. I was good at tech, so I didn't know how to put it together.
Mhm.
And when I figured out this thing was happening where we were putting tech in healthcare, I thought, wow, like this is going to really make a difference. And I spent my whole career chasing that. I did some projects in hospitals with the Department of Health and Human Services, with pharma companies, and I did that work in Boston, Los Angeles, and Zurich. And I grew to learn a lot about healthcare through that. But I always say I had like a front row seat to innovation or the best of the best. But then I also had a front row seat to reality, where my family, they're immigrants from Croatia. I see them trying to navigate a system that they're learning and from a different language as well. So you see two very different worlds. And at that time where I was meeting this wonderful man, right before that, I was working on this project looking at clinical trials. We were trying to figure out why aren't we recruiting on time? You know, we're not finding these patients for these trials. So that's where I was learning a little bit about that background. And then I had family getting diagnosed with cancer and other diseases, and I knew to tell them to go to clinicaltrials.gov to look for trials, and they weren't getting offered trials. And that's where, I thought, okay, maybe it's just there's nothing out there. And then I start looking and I see, yeah, there's things out there, but no one's even telling them. No one's even inviting them. And I grew up 8 miles north of Boston. So it's not like, I'm deep in the forest somewhere. So it was just that moment when I met this guy, is a sweetheart, and we were talking, and he told me how he managed to get on a trial. And again, these I really think trials are fantastic opportunities, and really options that everyone should have, and how he got to it, and just kind of confirmed like we're still stuck in this very old person dependent healthcare. And why I love tech so much is that I think tech should be the opener, the democratizer, or a way just to kind of unlock this information and access. And, I honestly never thought I could start a company. I didn't think I was smart enough. I don't have the connections. I don't have the family money or whatever else you need. But it was one of those problems that really, really bothered me. And when I was working on the tech, I was working on a type of artificial intelligence for other purposes. But I just knew, like, goddamn, I was like, Danielle, I think, I think you know the tech part. You know what's wrong in the healthcare setting, and you've seen how people experience it, and you've seen what you've got to do to make it work. I think you've got that picture of how you can change it. And it was just one of those, there's this saying, what was it? I didn't want to I tried to do nothing, but at some point I couldn't do nothing. I had to do something. And it was one of those, you just couldn't sit on the sidelines anymore. And it was one of those that I just knew I had to jump in. And that was the beginning of a very, very big adventure. Yeah.
Mhm, mm. I want to point to one thing that you mentioned. They weren't being offered. Do you know why? Can you answer? I mean, you're not the one not offering it, but why do you think that is? Why aren't clinical trials being offered?
Oh, I spent a lot of time on this question. Because it didn't make sense to me, I'll tell you that much. And I mean, we've heard kind of behind the scenes, and the more we're in it, I think the more I'm learning. I mean, I think one is the problem of our healthcare system and the incentives around it. And, I at first I kind of blamed different people for what was wrong. And I don't think you can really blame people. It's just kind of how the system's set up, and we've got roles, we've got responsibilities. And unfortunately, clinical trials are one of those that just falls through the cracks. So, doctors don't get paid to look into trials for you only if, maybe it's their trial, they have this incentive to think about trials for you. But otherwise, yeah, the hospital's not making extra money off it. I mean, it's just there's a kind of a problem of how do we actually embed thinking about trials into care, into our care pathways. And then also, it's just a brutal task for doctors. I mean, it's reading through clinicaltrials.gov, it's calling contacts, it's going through papers. We haven't done a really good job of helping doctors or nurses think about it more systematically. So I think there's just a huge lift. The system doesn't really support it. And that's why it's really, I mean, we've heard things like, yeah, of course I believe in it, but I just don't have the time. I'm
Mhm.
charting at night or weekends. Like, I'll try to do this on the weekend if I have extra time. But I mean, we just haven't set up our healthcare system for this. And then, unfortunately, there is a lot of bias as well, just in terms of, and yeah, I guess, I mean, how it's put is I need to, if I'm going to take this time to invest in someone and tell them about a trial, it's going to be someone I think would join.
Mhm.
So you can just imagine how many assumptions can happen in between that thinking. And I mean, it's a lot of things. It's you have to sign a lot of paperwork. Does the person speak English well enough? Or are they going to just abort because it's too hard? And then you spent all this work getting them to the trial and the paperwork and they just drop.
Mhm.
Or we've heard things like if they think the person can't afford the travel, then they're not going to offer it because there'll be a dropout. And dropouts are really bad in trials because you've done all this work to onboard someone and start them, and then they fall out and you have to find a new person. So again, I used to blame people. I know that's not the right thing to do, but like, I think I used to be a little more negative.
Mhm.
But once you understand the system we're operating in, you can understand why we have so many cracks. And I'm really glad you asked this question because I think one of the things I always just try to share, because people will say, oh, my doc didn't bring it up, so I don't think it's an option. And that's where anyone listening, just please share the news that no matter what, always look and always ask. Your doctor may not have had the time, they might not know. So it's not that they're not telling you because there isn't something, there could be something. And again, it's not their fault. It's just the system that isn't setting us up for success. And unfortunately, we do have to do a bit more homework, but being empowered and knowledgeable makes a huge, huge difference.
So well said. And tell us how Ancora fills those gaps, empowers the patients to say, hey, doc, like you said, I give you grace, I give you empathy. You have a lot on your plate. You have to remember 1,000 patients and et cetera, et cetera. But hey, guess what? I went on Ancora. I found this clinical trial. What do you think? How do you fill that gap?
Yeah. So one thing that I love is most of the doctors we talked to, we said, hey, crazy idea. What if a patient found a list of trials and brought them to you? Would you be okay with that? And most of them, I have to say, would just responded with like, yes, my gosh, yes. If I knew that if a patient walked in, one, I know they're open to trials, so I don't have to take that time trying to explain it or feel them out and see if they're interested. So they come in saying, I'm open to it and they have a list of trials, they say, great, like we have a starting point for a conversation and we can just dive right in, see what they've got and see if there's something for them. So from the doctor's side, it certainly helps a lot. And with Ancora, I mean, when I was looking for my friends and family, I was on clinicaltrials.gov and I was trying to figure out where do I even start? I mean, breast cancer, there's thousands of trials. And when I put in breast cancer Boston, I think I had 1,300 trials.
Wow.
And I exported everything and I just started going one by one. And I just thought, my God, this can't be how it works. I mean, especially, it was a very emotional time as well. And when you're just not in that right headspace and you face such a mountain to go through, it was nearly impossible. And so with Ancora, what I really wanted was the tool that I wish I had, which was I know a few key things. I know what kind of breast cancer she had. I know what kind of treatments she's already tried. Could that help me just narrow it down? And that's all I needed to do. I mean, most people, we can research things like if it's a list of 5, 10, or whatever, we can do the research, but 1,300 was a bit much. So with Ancora, the goal was that anyone can log in. It's a website. We need no information. You just answer as many questions as you can and it removes trials that you won't be eligible for. So the whole mentality of the tech and the AI is really just things you're hitting exclusion criteria for. So things that they won't really let you participate, removing those. And then what's left, we use a scoring mechanism to say they're looking for people very similar to what you said.
Mhm.
So it's never going to be a recommendation. It's not perfect for sure, but the idea was just to make that job easier. So that way, with 3 minutes of your time, you can answer an easy website and just get some answers. And again, it's not going to be the whole thing, but it's a great starting point for a conversation with your doctor, or
Mhm.
maybe you can find a hospital nearby that's running a lot of these trials that you can go to. So just it's meant almost like a translator.
Mhm.
In my head, that's kind of how I wanted it, between anyone, like anyone in this world, and the heavy jargon and heavy information from clinical trials. So just can we use tech as that translator to help these two worlds connect?
I love that. I love that. And then I'm also thinking too, like, I mean, I know we had set questions, but like the way that you're saying it is some people may not understand AI or tech. Can you, and but when you talk about it, and when I hear other people talk about it, they're so excited about it. How is this a- an exciting how is it exciting in that it can bridge the gap? Like, talk to us about the excitement and what is AI and how it's so powerful in what you're doing, to ease the minds of people who are like, I don't even know what AI is. I thought AI was a basketball player. Like.
It might be that someday too. Yeah, like it's yeah, probably not wrong. Yeah, sure, sure. So I mean, tech in essence, it's data being anything from numbers, of course, to even words and the information we can extract from words and language. And the part that we use under artificial intelligence is this piece called natural language processing. That's a really heavy part of what we do. And basically, if anybody studied languages or linguistics, you learn things like a noun, a parts of speech, and things like that. So we use those clues to help us extract the information from just text. So instead of just having like a big Word document and a bunch of words, we can actually start to organize that information by using what we know in linguistics. And in AI in general, I mean, to super generalize it, I mean, it's basically pattern recognition in a more advanced scale. But what it lets us do is process this information so much faster. And a lot of the things that I had seen in healthcare, I mean, we have this big issue of getting the right information to the right person at the right time. And if tech can help us with those pathways, and again, going back to like healthcare is used to be very person dependent. You didn't know what to do, you called a different doctor, or, and so we kind of had these people being our information. And if we can now put that into systems, then that means really anyone can access this information. So if you don't have access to MD Anderson or the top specialists in your area, how can we let other people tap into that knowledge? And that's why I think that's the most exciting part for me, is that we're starting to take it out of just like few people's brains and starting to really put it out there for everybody to benefit from. And then when we can put this information together, we can learn so much more from it. And this is where we can get into new cures, understanding diseases better, personalizing treatment so people don't have bad side effects. So the possibilities are massive, and I'm obviously a huge fan of tech and AI. I'm very careful with it as well. I will caution, please be careful where you put your medical information. The world is a crazy place, but I think there's just so much to be gained. And one of my big issues with clinical research was it was this game of serendipity, because the way we designed clinical trials was, okay, here's the trial. We're going to pick the hospitals we run it at, and we're going to pick the doctors that run it. So we were hoping that the right patient comes to the right doctor at the right hospital at the right time. And that's just a lot of hoping for me.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
it's not working anymore. And that's where I think like if tech can help us crunch through, help more people access this information, ask about it, access it. I mean, we can solve some of these recruitment challenges. People get access to these new therapies, diagnostic that are out there, just incredible things. And if we can speed this whole process up, we get these medicines to market faster. We reduce the costs of building or of doing this testing and of bringing drugs to market. So we unlock so many things. It's just not an easy problem to solve. Yeah.
And you solve the problem of inequality. Like, I think of the times where, thank God I met you, and whether it was somebody who made, I don't know how much this person made, I'm just making this up, $500,000, or somebody who made $30,000, they were able to access the same information. And as you stated, that doesn't happen often. And that was because of you. I remember just thinking like, "Oh, we'll just go on here." And they're like, and I just have to tell y'all, the way that the website is set up, the way that Danielle has carefully curated this, I sometimes get asked a lot of questions and I'm like, if I have to click another button, it wasn't like that. It was okay, breast cancer. Okay, well, what type? Okay, well, have you gone through this? Okay, well, have you, and it could have been, I don't know. You like, you can choose that, and it was just, it, it was, I don't want to say easy, but it allowed me to get to my answer. I didn't feel like I was doing work to get to my answer. You understand what I'm saying? And it was just, and then it almost sort of made me not upset, but I was like, well, darn it, like to my friends who passed away, like, I wish we would have known about this so much sooner, you know? And this is why we're doing this episode because it's like, damn it, like, I felt like I showed Rashida too late. I felt like I showed Tulu too late. Like if we just would have known that these options were out there because she showed it to them. But at that point, so thank you. Because it doesn't have to be a last stitch effort.
Yeah, I think that's one of the I think that's one of the heart of having clinical research information traditionally just be in these specialist heads is I didn't know about clinical research until I was working with pharma companies and they were showing me these new drugs and they're targeting cancer in ways I had no idea we were this smart. We were able to be this precise and just thinking like, my God, if people knew what we were looking into, like why, we would have recruitment solved. Like, we just need to tell people. And the pushback I always get is like, "Oh, it's so complicated. The data so this information's really complicated. You have to be a doctor to understand it." And sure, I know there's parts that you need a nice advanced education to really understand maybe how these drugs are working at the most detailed level. But just to be able to get to that first, is there something here for me? I don't think we have to make it that complicated. And I think the closer people are to it, the easier everything becomes. But we need to again have that translator, just a way to access that information. So you can just continuously look for yourself. Yeah, be empowered, find these options and look early. Like you're saying, early is so important, often so important. Just always on the table. I mean, and there's incredible things. Maybe I'll just make a quick plug. I mean, beyond treatments and just strict treatments, there's amazing things like psychosocial support. There's things for exercise while you're going through breast cancer treatment. So things you can, a lot of things are online as well. So you don't have to travel and just be on your phone, but you can really benefit from some of the most amazing minds coming up with ways to help you live healthier lives, have better outcomes from treatments. So I can't encourage it enough. There's just amazing things to see and just great to learn what's being investigated, what's coming out, what maybe can we see in 5, 10 years. So yeah, I think it's just so important that people be able to access this.
Mm, yeah, thank you for that. Um, I feel like I'm looking at the question. I'm like, did we already talk about this? I'm just going to ask it because we just went in. But so you believe that access to innovative medicines, like you said, should not be determined on luck or personal connections. And you answer this, but just for people to hone in on it, how does Ancora aim to level the playing field for patients seeking novel treatments? And what challenges have you faced in trying to achieve this?
Yeah, no, thanks. So, yeah, again, I think the issue was we have kind of gatekeepers of clinical trial information, and I hope tech could kind of disrupt that a little bit, or just help people. Almost like if anyone's using ChatGPT or all this craziness that's coming out, you ask it anything, you get answers. I mean, our interface isn't that lovely yet. I hope at one point it will be, but a similar thing of just how can we use technology to scan all the information out there and bring you something back? And for Ancora, it was how can we scan all clinical trial options and bring you something back? And the point of the AI was really just every morning we pull in data from 4 different clinical trial registries. We'll soon be adding a 5th, and we
Yay.
just look at anything related to cancer. And the AI model itself just structures that information. So for this trial, what kind of patients are they looking for? We structure it all, and then as a user, when you're answering the questions, that's where the tech is just helping kind of screen through, and I mean thousands of trials to find something potentially that could help. And then we rank it based on how much it matches the questions that you've answered. So maybe your subtype of breast cancer, maybe your biomarkers, if you've heard of genetic mutations, some of the prior therapies you had. So that's just the way it'll try to bring up things that maybe fit you more. And again, the idea is that you can do this on your phone, you can do this on your website, you can, I mean, we don't really need anything from you. And we'll be adding more languages as well, but just that in that 3 minutes, do a quick scan. Is there something up here that looks interesting? Or you can print it. And we have a lot of people that just print it and take it to the doctor and just say, I found something. And some people have said that's really helped just because they're afraid of asking questions. And I totally get that. It's so intimidating to ask a doctor a question, and sometimes you just feel like they're an expert and you're not. And can you ask this? Is it a stupid question? So we've had a lot of people tell us just by printing it out, they feel much more empowered to ask because they know there's something, like they can see that there's something to talk about. And I think that to me was like the best thing I ever heard. And the other way, we've also heard things. So some doctors won't look outside the hospital again because of the system and how it's set up. And we've had cases of a patient being told at a hospital there's nothing for them. Enjoy the next year with your family, and that's it. To finding a trial 1 mile down the road at another hospital,
Wow.
and he's alive now 6 years later, watching his little girls grow up. So I want to share because it's just, again, I can't fault people. I mean, we're kind of the byproducts of the process that's been set up in the system. But that's where I think like we as patients can be disruptors in that, or when we can get the information, we can come in and we can find and navigate that better sometimes than sometimes some of these physicians can, again, just because of how things are set up, amount of time and resources people have. So I can't stress enough that you've really got to advocate for yourself or your loved one. And I know it's a lot of work, and this is where I just hope Ancora can be just a little bit of help for at least getting to clinical trial information, which I think is just as an important option on the table for cancer as anything else. So please look early often.
Oh my gosh. I, tell us more about patient outcomes.
Yeah. And I'll share maybe one story. I mean, also, yeah. I mean, in general, there's a lot of studies about institutions where trials are offered and how do patient outcomes or how well patients do, how does that look? And a lot of the studies point that if there's a hospital with clinical trials, actually people have better outcomes. And again, clinical trials just give you access to these new therapies. And we're so much smarter about how we find drugs. I mean, maybe with AI, actually, going back to that, we're able to find these drugs and these targets and understand them so much better. So the things that we're coming up with now are just incredible. If you want to check out nuclear medicine or radiopharmaceuticals, that's another space that it's just taking off right now. Super interesting approach. So I think it's just important in terms of having access to options and having access to some of the most groundbreaking research in ways of treating cancer that we have today.
Mhm.
The one that we've seen with our tool, which I'll just share because it absolutely made my day, and I think I celebrated for 2 months straight. But we were able to hear that somebody made it to a trial by coming through our tool. They asked us for our help, so people can also ask for help getting to trials if they don't know how to call or get to the front door. So we do that work. And someone had asked for that help, and the physician answered, was kind of surprised. It was somebody from out of state, so a couple states away. They did the pre-screen, everything worked out, and the person joined the trial. And I caught up with this person a couple years later, and they had fantastic response. They've had about 5 to 10 years added to their life, and just incredible, absolutely incredible. I can't even explain it, and if I go into more detail, I'll probably start crying, to be honest.
Yeah.
But just the most amazing thing, and the physician shared that they were really shocked because the person had not come from their hospital, came from a distance away. But it was really, I mean, it worked out fantastically. And again, I don't think tech is going to answer everything, but it helps someone get the information. It helps someone figure out where to go and to join this trial. And it's made a huge difference for somebody. And I won't, I mean, clinical trials won't always work. I can't say it's a magic thing. I'll just say that it's just important to know about and important to ask about and could be a good option.
Yes, and like you said, it's an option. You know, what would we not do? What lengths will we not go to save our to give us extra day, year like, I will go to great lengths, and not even for myself, but for my family, my friends. I live in Philadelphia, but I will drive to California every day. Whatever I have to do,
No,
I'll do it.
no.
Wow.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's where, coming back to the assumptions, also, I think some people will assume people won't. Travel is difficult or whatever these things are. And I guess maybe one other thing I'll mention here is there are now a lot of programs, people trying to figure out how to help more people participate with their local doctor or virtually. You'll see terms like decentralized trials or hybrid trials. So they are changing, they're getting easier to join. But you can also ask for help. There's a lot of organizations like American Cancer Society does Hope Lodge. I'm also on the board of Family Reach, where they offer financial support for getting to trials. So I'd say don't let anything stop you because there are a lot of good people putting together support to help people with the travel and also to ask the trial. There's some people leading trials that are really fantastic. One trial, they offered childcare, pet care, all the travel paid for, and a hot meal at the end of the day of your treatment for your whole family. So there's options. Just always ask. Don't be afraid to ask. And if you need help, ask anyone or ask me, or we can publish a list of organizations at the end of this, but don't let that stop you because it could be, again, these trials could just be such an important option for you. It could have such a big impact for you.
Oh my gosh, that's huge. Childcare, pet care, that is huge.
Yeah.
Wow. Um, wow, wow. And just going back to that beautiful man that you met, on the hiking trail, and he talked about the new treatments. How does Ancora empower patients to become informed advocates of their own health? And what resources and tools do you provide to support their journey?
Yeah. So I think for us, we really just try to think of ourselves as just an informational resource. Yeah, we're never going to be your medical team. Sorry, we're certainly not qualified for that right now, or your care team. But I think for information, for getting you access to that, we're doing our best, and we'll keep improving on the website and the AI and everything. I'm sure you've seen AI is evolving like crazy, so we're just racing to keep up with everything. But it'll only get better, which is good. But information really is power, and that information in terms of even having that conversation with your doctor, your care team, knowing what hospital to go to, or finding these trials yourselves and just doing the phone calls and asking them. Or we, like I said, we're ready to help as well if you need help. But we're really an informational resource, and information, just don't underestimate it. I think it can be such a game changer and just so important for quality of life, duration of life, everything. So I hope that's our part to play. There's a lot more pieces to accessing trials for sure, and there's a lot of good people doing similar work. So we're certainly not the only ones, but I'd say certainly lean on resources like that and information. Because again, it could just unlock a new option for you, and some of those could be really worth it.
Small video. What's next for Ancora?
So it's good timing for this. We are in the midst of adding brain tumors with a really incredible group of oncologists, researchers, and patient advocates. So I hope we launch that. We'll be launching it in the summer, but hopefully July, August time period. So look out for that. That'll include brain tumors and brain metastases, which there's a lot of focus for brain mets coming from breast and lung and melanoma. So certainly check that out. Some really interesting treatments they're coming up with. So that's one big one. And we're also adding that category of radiopharmaceuticals or nuclear medicine. So it's a way of putting like a mini atomic bomb on a little carrier and then kind of directing that carrier to tumor cells.
Mm.
And then it drops that payload and tries to kill the tumor cell. And that's a very simplified answer, but It's a very interesting approach, and they're also looking at it for other diseases like Alzheimer's or for things like arthritis or inflammation. So it's certainly incredibly interesting space. There's a wonderful group we're partnering with, the Society of Nuclear Medicine and Molecular Imaging, that's doing a lot of work to let people know what this is, how it works, that it's safe, and how it's working in terms of treating different diseases. So certainly check them out as well. They've got great resources explaining this new treatment modality and the new ways we're imaging as well. So those are the two really big things with us. And our next big hope is to work more closely with hospitals.
Mm.
So that way, when patients are in the waiting room, that they can access Ancora already. And so while you have maybe 5 minutes before an appointment, you can answer the questionnaire and again, come into that appointment warmed up with information, ready to have a really good conversation with the doctor, and also letting the doctor know that the patient's going to come in strong as hell. Um, those are the things that we're gearing up for now. We're really excited for. So it's going to be a busy couple of months, but I'm excited to see how it all looks.
Mm. I'm so proud of you.
No
Why the
problem.
name Ancora?
Ancora is actually Italian, ancora, for
Mm.
again, or a new
Mm.
hope. And
Mm.
for us, that's kind of what clinical trials are. It's not a dead end. I like to think of it as, yeah, that new hope or maybe a next step for a lot of people.
Wow, that just, you know, now I feel like I'm about to be emotional. How beautiful is it that you're the CEO and that you actually care? I mean, I've seen people, I'm not saying people don't care, but it's just like because of you, like you're really saving lives, you know? And I really wish that, and I really know that people who, businesses, hospitals, patients who hear this episode, see this episode, really takes a hold of it because I just, like I said, I really wish, tell Lou and Rashina knew about this earlier. And, like you said, it doesn't mean it's going to work, but just to have that option. So I've never cried on a podcast, so thank you.
You're a very
so,
beautiful.
thank you for that. And I think what made me even more emotional is the name. Like, again, like, yes, yes. Wow. So thanks, Danielle. First person to make me cry.
That's because you're a very beautiful person. No, thank you. Yeah, no, thanks for saying all that.
um, my last question is like, who do you say you are? You are such a beautiful person. You're a CEO, you're a researcher, you're a techie, I don't think there's a word in the dictionary to describe you, but who do you say you are?
No, I love data and tech for sure. And I hope I never escape that with the way the world's going. I don't think I ever will. But I think I like to say, I'm certainly a very curious person. It's something that I think is really important for everyone. I love that. Just curious about the world, meeting new people, learning new things, and I think the one thing I always had from a young age and that I hope I never lose is just this desire to try to leave this world a little better than how I found it.
Mm.
And Boston College, we had our mission, which was men and women for others.
Wow.
And it's something that really stuck with me. And if I know I can't move mountains, I know I can't do anything fancy, but if I can do a little bit and just make this world a little better, then I think that's a life well lived. So that's who I hope I am in the end.
I think you're there. I mean, the stories you have told and you're not even at your peak and you've helped people, and you're going to continue to do so. You're taking the sting out of a diagnosis to say, hey, we are all a team. You so graciously, and I'm glad you did that, gave grace to everybody. This person's not a bad person. It's a system. It's not, so you have a lot on your plate. I have a lot on my plate. But you know what? We are a team. Let's both come to it and let's figure it out together.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Perfectly said.
Where can people find you?
It's just Ancora.ai, so we're not too fancy, too complicated. So please check it out. Like I said, it's just information, but information is really important. And if you have ideas, or if we can make things better, please don't hesitate to reach out. It's only from feedback, ideas that we learn and we make something stronger. So it's also teamwork that builds something like this. So we need everyone's help and everyone's input. So I just thank anyone for checking it out and thank anyone who can give us some ideas and feedback as well. And thank you for listening. And thank you, Nia, for having me. My God, it's such a privilege and an honor, and I just hugely respect everything you do. And yeah, so proud to know you. And thank you.
Thank you. You guys seriously go on Ancora.ai, and you are going to feel the ease that I felt going through the process, but felt so empowered to get the information that came back to me. And like Danielle said, printed it out, gave it to the physician, and it was like, it's almost like sometimes physicians, you kind of feel like that weight on their shoulders. And once it was handed to them, it was like, oh, thank you. It was like the weight lifted, and then the weight lifted for, the patients too, because it's like, we're a team. We got this, So thank you for, I'm so glad that you hiked that day. So glad. And I'm so glad that you you answered God's calling for your life. Thank you for doing that. I know it's not easy, but because of you, you're saving lives and you're going to win the Nobel Peace Prize. So thank you.
Oh, no, thank you, Nia. You're too kind. You're too kind.
I'm serious. Everybody, Ancora.ai. Again. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Humanitarian Heartbeat podcast. Remember, each conversation brings us closer to a world where compassion thrives. Stay connected, stay informed, and let's keep the heartbeat of humanity alive. Subscribe, share, and be a part of our journey to make a difference, one conversation at a time. Until next time, keep your hearts open, your minds curious, be a blessing to others, and give agape love. God bless.